Okay, let's get real for a second. Parenting kiddos with ADHD is exhausting. And some days just thinking about talking to a therapist feels impossible. That's why I love Talkspace. Here's the game changer. You can text or chat with a licensed therapist whenever you need. No waiting rooms, no awkward, hi. No forcing yourself to talk out loud when your nervous system is already shot. Just real support on your time in your space. If you're shy, anxious, overstimulated, or just flat out done speaking, this is life-changing. You type, they respond, and suddenly support is literally in your pocket. And the practical mom part? Talkspace accepts most insurance. The average copay is around $15, and a lot of insured members pay $0. No insurance? Still covered. You can get $80 off your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. So if you've been thinking, I need help, but I can't even, this is your sign. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com and save $80 with code SPACE80. Less guilt, more support. That's the energy we're bringing into 2026. Parenting neurodivergent kiddos feels like trying to build IKEA furniture blindfolded sometimes. You know there's a manual, but it's all in Swedish. That's exactly why I want to spotlight Insight Family Market. They aren't another generic store. They're a curated marketplace built by someone who's literally been in the trenches as an educator and parent, selecting tools that actually make daily life more manageable for real families. From sensory-friendly clothing and adaptive tools to educational supports and wellness essentials, everything is chosen with a family-first mindset. No clinical jargon, no guessing what might help. What I love is that it's not about selling you a quick hack. It's about offering thoughtful, quality products that help create more calm, more confidence, and more actual functioning in chaos. Whether that's at mealtime, bedtime, homework, or quiet moments between the noise. If you are exhausted from chasing solutions and just want a place where the gear feels like it was picked by someone who gets it, Insight Family Market might be that stop on your journey. Welcome back, Chaos Fam. Today's episode is for the parents who are tired of being told to just be patient, try harder, or let's just wait and see. For the ones who know something deeper is going on with their kid, but don't want another sticker chart, another lecture, or another plan that only works on paper. I'm joined by Dr. Amber Brooks, and she is the kind of expert ADHD parents have been begging for. Dr. Brooks works at the intersection of brain science, functional neurology, and real-life parenting. She helps families move beyond surface-level fixes and look at what's actually driving their child's ADHD symptoms. Things like regulation, nervous system health, and how the brain is really functioning day to day. What I love about her approach is that it's not about doing more. It's about understanding better. It's about creating less chaos, not just managing it. In this conversation, we talk about why so many parents hesitate to start treatment, what a more natural or integrative path can look like, and how to know when it's time to bring in additional support without shame, fear, or extremes. If you are a parent who wants calmer days, fewer power struggles, and a plan that actually represents your child's brain, this episode is for you, my friend. Let's welcome Dr. Amber Brooks to the mic. Dr. Brooks, welcome to Chaos and Caffeine.
Hi, how are you?
I am very well, and I'm so excited we could finally make this happen.
Yes, ma'am. Glad to be here.
So for those of my listeners who have not been introduced to you yet, do you mind telling them a little bit about you?
Sure. So I have spent almost the last 20 years working hands-on with neurodivergent kids and complex pediatric cases. So my experience spans from things like ADD, ADHD, autism, anxiety, picky eating, sleep issues, gut problems, and developmental delays. So, my purpose of what I really want to do in my work is help parents connect symptoms to the deeper rooted patterns in the body and really be that voice for children and advocate for their wellness.
Mm, I love that. I love that so much. Is it a case by case root cause why, or are you seeing a common trend?
That's such a great question. Really, really great question. If I look back on almost 2 decades, I will say every kid is their own unique little person, right? But there are definitely common threads that run. And the maybe how extreme that, let's talk about behavior, right? Or let's talk about picky eating, or let's talk about, being up all night and all day long, those kinds of things. So I think where they sit on the scale, right, of severity is different, but a lot of them have the same underlying things going on. It's just parents are never taught that those things are actually what we should be focusing on. But of course, we in our society teach you as parents, will focus on the symptom that bothers you the most, right? And then we'll try to minimize that symptom as much as possible instead of getting down to, well, what's really the foundational problem here, right? So a little bit commonality for sure. I could talk to a room of 100 parents and all 100 of them would definitely nod their head yes within that 30 minutes, right? Some obviously more than others, depending on the exact topic.
Yeah. So this year episode will be a part of our New Year Less Chaos campaign. And one of the reasons I really wanted you on is because, even myself included, no judgment, I feel like we get to the point where we know we need something different, and then parents get hesitant.
Sure.
I often hear parents immediately, like, you're like, well, do you think it's ADHD? And they're like, I don't want to medicate my kid. But
Sure.
there's so much more that we can do before that. So if you don't mind, today I would kind of like to dive into all those other things that we can look into so that jump is not so scary.
Yeah, sure. I want to first say, because I think, those of us that are in that functional medicine realm get a bit of a bad rap in that, being anti-medication. I'm not anti-medication. I believe medication can help some children immensely. I mean, I have a master's in nursing. So, I understand the point. However, my priority is helping families understand the why behind the behaviors before deciding on a path, right? That path could be a little bit of what we'll talk about. That path could be, well, let me try medication. It's all over the map. I have parents coming saying, we did all the things, and nothing still worked, right? I think parents need to have context so they're more confident in whatever treatment that they choose. So for me, I would say behavior is the number one reason why parents finally pick up the phone or email me, right? And that has gone across the board, no matter the diagnoses. I think all parents, all of us, we can take a lot, right? And it's until there's some breaking point that we're like, okay, we've done all the things and none of the things are working and I'm giving up, but I know maybe someone can tell me what to do. So it is the driver. It's definitely the driver that parents kind of fall off the cliff, if you will, and for good reason, honestly. So for me, I would say foundationally looking at journaling. And part of this is so you, as the parent, can see what's really happening. Because let's face it, we're getting up in the morning, we're busy, we're exhausted. And a day that's a 5, worst day ever, right? Versus a 1, like, okay, we made it through. I didn't want to, jump off the cliff today. Those days of 5 almost run into each other, right? Because even if we have a 1 day in there, we're so mentally and emotionally exhausted from those 5s that like we can't see through the trees. We can't. And when I ask questions and my intake, parents are like, what? It's, just the form, the client form is 20 pages long because I'm asking all the questions because I need to ask things that you don't think I need to know. Right. And so part of journaling in the beginning is I tell parents, do a scale 1 to 5. 1, like I said, great day, made it through, think maybe I can sleep tonight. 5 is like, okay, I might want to give my kid away to the next stranger who's willing to take him or her. Right. And so where is that? And really talk about, okay, the time of day matters. Was it a school day? Was it an off day? Did he or she spend after school with someone else? Right? We start to see connections when we start to write it down because the days really aren't all the same. It just feels that way because we're so exhausted as parents. We're so exhausted. But if we journal it, you can start to see patterns, which help me see patterns. I'm going to see the patterns because I'm asking everything underneath the sun, right? And, I have amazing intuition. So as I'm getting to know you, I'm just sort of letting my intuition steer the conversation. But you need to notice these patterns for where you're starting. But more importantly, when things start changing and becoming better, you can also recognize that and say, oh my gosh, I'm going to take a moment to give myself a high five because I'm so awesome. Right. Because parents have a lot of heavy lifting. It is the hardest job you will ever do. Ever, ever, ever. Right. And so I like for you to know where you start. And I put that in perspective for all my parents because I need you to also recognize when you're doing such a great job and the little wins matter, right? The little wins go from a day that's a 5 to a day that's a 1. So I want you to really, really be in it and know what's happening day to day so that we start to notice the little changes. Because I think when you're talking about, hey, it's hard for parents to say, I know I need to change, but oh gosh, another change or another, what are they going to ask me to do? Is it going to be hard? Is it going to make it worse? Right.
Yeah.
This is anxiety. This is anxiety on the forefront. And which doesn't help a kid with ADHD, right? If I've got parents that are anxious, the kids are driving based on our behaviors and our energy, right? How we're chaotic. They're more chaotic. So I tell parents, my job first and foremost is to reduce your anxiety, answer your questions, and get you kind of back to some level of calmness, right? I can't make all of your experiences go away, but I can certainly put you at ease with, okay, I hear what's going on. I see what's going on. This might be where we need to go. Here's what we're going to do to get there. And I have found that it eases your mind, which automatically drops the chaos down to a level that's doable. So when we do add supplements in or do diet changes, or everything feels hard, I think, but it feels so much more palatable because I'm holding your hand the whole time. And because I've been doing this so long, there's nothing you're going to throw at me I haven't heard, seen, worked through, or done. So that's the benefit of just journaling in the beginning.
I love that because for a long time, we're working through school issues. Honestly, my kiddo's behavior doesn't bother me at home. It's more, it was troublesome at school at first. And I remember someone told me to keep a journal of what's going on at school. But it was actually more helpful for me as the parent to journal where our troubles were at home. So I love that that's your starting point.
Yeah, school. And it's never the same. I'm so glad you brought that up because for parents that are sort of new or thinking, is my kid, ADHD? Are they not? Truly, they're never the same in both places. You're either like, look, my kid's fine at home. And really, again, you're accommodating what's happening, or right? Your mom and dad, you guys know what to do. But there are a lot of problems at school. And diving into how they're handling behavior and what they're doing. I always tell parents, look, you are the all-knowing, right? You know how to handle them. So take the time to teach your teachers how to handle them. We assume, hey, you went to school, you know what you're doing. But with the class ratios these days and their lack of getting out and getting exercise and having recess,
Yeah.
geez, the kids are crawling out of their skin.
Yeah. And I mean, it's just the luck of the draw. This year in fifth grade and in third grade, my kiddo had a teacher who was pregnant. So
Mm,
not only are we adjusting to like her hormones and she's tired and exhausted and all those
sure.
things, but then midway through the very important year that we're supposed to have before middle school, we're going to be with a substitute because she's going on maternity leave. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah. And changes suck.
yeah,
Changes suck for the kids, right? I mean, more so than us, they rock their world. And there's a lot of things going on at school that we don't know about. And so when they have a really bad day, or I have parents that are like, I had to go pick them up, they lost it. And I'm like, okay, look, this isn't just a focus issue or a behavioral issue. This is a much bigger conversation about what was happening leading up to that quote flip out. Kids don't just lose it. Okay.
yeah,
They don't. Despite what bad rap they may get, there is a reason for every single thing that they do. We might not like the reason and we might not agree with it, but there is a reason. And so looking at the things like I talked about in journaling, common things that appear with them that trigger them: anxiety, sleep issues, challenges in schedule or other people's behavior, like the teacher, right? And then digestive issues. So I'm not expecting parents to recognize that. I'm expecting them to say, look, it was really bad when they wake up, or it's really bad at the end of the day, or we found out they had a substitute. It's like, okay, let me explain to you why that might have happened so you can understand your kiddo just a little bit better and give them that grace. Like, yeah, I know it stinks. You had to go up and pick them up from school, but you know what? Given where their headspace is and how they maybe don't do so well with that change and that drives that anxiety, then we can say, look, we don't appreciate the way you handled yourself today. Let's talk about that. But it calms you down as a parent, like, okay, I'm not doing something wrong here, right? This isn't me being a terrible parent. This isn't me not knowing how to scold my child, which is, I roll to everyone that's listening, right? You've all heard this. It's so ridiculous. But it really gives you some time to go, okay, look, I understand why they did it. And sometimes just knowing that gets your anxiety level down. Like, it happens. Life happens, right? We can prepare them for everything. But the truth is, guys, it happens. So we need to roll with the punches and, again, not make an excuse for them, but say, okay, it happened and I understand it and we're going to move on, right? And not really obsess or stay in that headspace of, oh gosh, is tomorrow going to be another day, right? No, tomorrow's a new day. And we just kind of have to move along and go with it sometimes.
I hate that there's so much pressure on kids,
Mm-hmm.
neurotypical or otherwise, to
Mm-hmm.
always be in a good mood, to always have good days. Like that's not happening,
Mm-mm.
in our world
No.
or neurotypicals. Nobody has good days every day. Like,
No, not. And this whole like red light, yellow light, green light. I don't know if you guys have that in your school system, but they come home. It's like, okay, well, what kind of day did you have? And you're setting them up to meet an expectation that is not realistic. I mean, I grew up, I had a lot of energy. I drove my dad just insane. I would have definitely been diagnosable, like no question. I grew up in the 70s, right? So 80s, I guess. 70s and 80s. And so for me, I danced since I was 3. I could not, Danielle, could not go to a grocery store and just walk down an aisle. No, that was a stage. And I would go and I would do leaps and turns. And my dad would just be like, Amber Dawn, just stop. And I was like, okay, dad, whatever. But I mean, honestly, and I think everyone deals with things differently, but of course I got good grades. I wasn't in any trouble at school. So no one said anything. No one did any. I mean, what would they would have done, right? I mean, every single one of my report cards was, she's a social butterfly. She's so sweet, but she talks too much. I mean, it's like, okay. But because I wasn't a problem at school, right? I was a problem at home, right? We talked about that earlier. But my parents were like, go outside, get out of here, right? Or I'm at the studio dancing till 6 o'clock, whatever it is. So at school, it was almost less pressure because my parents didn't have to hear about it. I could maintain myself for whatever reason. I probably couldn't really. I mean, I was just chatting all the time. But it's a lot of pressure. I mean, I think about like the homework kids have, like, holy moly, or we have star testing here in Texas.
Yes.
And that stresses the kids out. Like, it's just this pressure that they talk about all year long. And I wish that we could change things, right? But we can't. And so I think I talk to the kids like the little adults that they are, right? A lot of them have a lot of immaturity in some ways, but have a lot of maturity in others. And so I always talk to the kids and tell them, look, it stinks. I had to do it too. Whatever the topic is, let's talk about what makes you nervous, and then describing what nervous means, right, to a kid. And sometimes it's just, would you feel better if? And it's talking to the kids about, tell me what would make you feel better. And they will and can articulate that. And I think we're in a society where everybody is trying to fix somebody else. And it's like, how about we just listen to the kid? How about we just listen to them and see what they need, right? It's a very powerful thing that can happen, but it's something I think we've stripped away their voice and not given them that control, which is a big part, I think, of ADHD, right? Is giving them choices and letting them have control. I always say it's false. It's a false sense of control, guys. I'm going to give you two choices. Don't care which one you choose, right? But I'm going to let you think you're controlling it. But it's powerful. It's a powerful tool. I've always taught parents, like, do it. But I feel bad for the kids, and it's why I still love what I do, and I'm still driving, to try to make life easier for them in any way that I can. And not just for them, but for you guys as parents, because it's extremely stressful. I know firsthand how stressful it is to always be worried, right, about them and how they're coping or not coping, or how they're doing. And our performance statistics are not helping at all.
At all.
They can fail. Like, it's fine. It's fine to fail. It's fine to have a bad day. It's great that you stink at English, right? Okay, great. Not everybody can be good at everything. Shocker, right?
I need that reminder so much. Me and my kid are on complete opposite spectrums. He is a fantastic athlete and good at math and all of those things. And I was like the book nerd. And so really our academic struggles are 100% my ego, because he's going to be fine. I just need to reel in my expectations.
Yeah. And sometimes, I always tell parents, we need to spend time focusing on the things that they're good at and reminding them how awesome they are. Because we are being beat down by the school. We are being beat down by society. We are being beat down by our expectations. I mean, no child is ever probably going to live up to doing what I did in my life, right? I have 6 college degrees. It's excessive, Danielle. It is excessive. Okay. So, like, why am I comparing myself to the next person? Because I'm like you. I'm a nerd. I love to learn, right? I love all the things. But if they're a great athlete, then we need to build that up. We almost need to give them this false sense of, like, you're the next Michael Jordan, dude. You are. Let's do it. I want them to have confidence, and they spend their whole day being stripped down and told, don't get up, don't do this, don't talk, don't. And my parents did such an amazing job at giving me this sense of confidence that has made me so brave and the risk taker that I am. And I really give them credit for that, because they could have focused on what a spaz I was, to be quite honest. So take the time and write down the things your kids are really great at, even if it's Minecraft. They're really great at Minecraft, or they're really great, whatever it is, they are great at things that nobody is noticing. And take the time to really celebrate those things, because their little confidence is so, so important to being the human adults that they're growing up too fast. But it reminds you of, like, they're not intellectual, dang it, but I couldn't do what they did on the soccer field, on the football field, right? So it does help us as parents too. Like we're doing something right. We're doing something right. They're really great at all these things.
Yeah.
So reminder for you too.
I need it and often.
Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. Because it is. Our society is, let's wake up and focus on what's going to go wrong today. Right.
Yeah.
And it's a really big effort to change the way that you think. I spent my whole 20s changing the way that I think. And I wouldn't say it was easy, but for me, it was survival. I had to learn how to not be pessimistic because that's sort of the space my brain grew up in, and really focus on, okay, let's look at the positive because there is always going to be a negative. And I think that mind shift really was so I could be the provider that I am today, which is, look, I'm reading through all the paperwork of all the problems, but let's talk about good stuff too, right? This isn't just about how broken is my kid. Dr. Brooks, how broken? It's like, they're not broken,
Yeah.
right? They're not broken. But really helping you change the way that you're looking at things and give you the confidence as a parent to say, look, I can do this. This is it. It's a lot, but I'm not doing it by myself. It's not 100% on me. And I have someone to bounce ideas off of. Like I tell parents, look, there's nothing you're going to ask me that's crazy. If you read something, if you see something, I'd rather you ask me and I will shoot it to you straight all day long, whether what my problems are with it or why I think, yeah, that's probably a thing, right? Because I don't want you to have anxiety about what am I missing? What should I be doing? Should I be doing this instead of that? Right? Because it's really hard not to compare other people's journey to your own. It's almost impossible, right? Almost impossible.
Yeah. Speaking of, one of my questions is, okay, so we have this journal and it has all of the things that we're now recognizing as our pattern.
Sure.
Mine, I'm speaking for the collective. We want to fix everything at one time.
Okay,
we want to do the diet change. We want to do the change of the sleep. We want to do everything. Is there one thing that we should focus on first or at a time, or is that depending on what's in this journal?
Well, I love that you asked this question because it's brilliant. And I have such great news. So the truth is that every single thing you see as a symptom and or struggle are all connected. So you don't have to pick. You don't have to say, I want to focus on sleep. I want to focus on the meltdown. I want to focus on just sitting at the table and doing homework for 10 minutes, right? Because my philosophy has always been attack the foundation first and build up from there. And it always works. It does not fail me. Your kids' bodies do not fail us. They just don't. So I think diet changes are super important because the food is such a big pot stirrer, right? And my parents say, oh gosh, am I going to have to, oh gosh, then the meltdowns are going to be about food and the da 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 da. And maybe you've done it before. Maybe you'll tell me it doesn't work. And I will tell you, look, I just want you to do this my way, right? And my way is the way your kid needs it to be. And I'm not going to say take all these things out. I'm going to say let's replace it with, right? Because the kids aren't just going to start eating the Mediterranean diet, right? I mean, that's ridiculous. Okay. I am such a realist, Danielle. I can't tell you how boots on the ground this girl is. Like, I get it. And I know it's not reasonable. So I'm a reasonable person. When your kids have these symptoms, their body is on fire, right? It is just on fire. And so my first go-to is like, let's put out some of the fire, right? Let's just a little bit, and a little bit can go a long way. Now, what the body decides to do with that, right? Is it they're sleeping through the night all of a sudden? Is it they're not wanting to crawl out of their skin first thing in the morning? I mean, I can't control that, right? You and I can't. But doing these things almost peels back layers of the onion, right? And so slowly but surely, I'm not having to pick what we do, neither are you. The body is just sort of doing it in the way that it's doing it, right? And supplements come into play, of course, which can be another hiccup, right? Parents are like, no, they're not going to do this. They're picky eating. Like I said, that is what I walk you through. So everything is doable if you're given the right tools to do it. And that's part of the problem is parents maybe see a provider, or maybe they just go online and follow XYZ. And it looks so easy for them. What's my kid's problem? Really, your kid, all of our kids are just individual people. And so each one of them need that. Here's how we approach it. Here's what we need to do. Because those hurdles are not impossible. Not for me, which means they're not impossible for you because I'm helping you through it, right? But they feel like it. And so when parents do these diets on their own, a lot of times they're not even doing them correctly because the information they're being given isn't correct, or the label that they're reading isn't actually, they don't know how to read the label, right? They're reading one thing. And it's not ignorance. It's just nobody has taught you that you don't need to worry about this, or you need to focus on that. And so it makes going to the grocery store, like you break out into hives, right? It's like, I don't even want to go. I don't even want to, I hate the grocery store personally. I run through there like I'm on fire.
Same.
I hate it. And so I go and I know, like, this is what I'm buying. This is what I'm doing. Boom, 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 boom. But this time of year can be really stressful. I would say from October to the end of December is like, I loathe this time of year, right? You have Halloween, you have candy, you have Thanksgiving, you have Christmas. And so all the parties at school and the parties at our houses and the holidays. And so this is the time of year I always focus with parents on, okay, what is your family thing? Like, what do you eat, right? We always did lasagna on Christmas Eve, right? So what do I need to modify so we can keep those traditions? Because I don't believe just throwing them away, right? Because traditions are important. The thing that grandma makes, the thing we do on the birthday, all those things. We just need to figure out what else to do. So I have been very dietarily restricted for well over 20 years. So I try new things. I tell you my favorite brands. I tell you what things taste like, so we're not wasting like $6 on a thing of cookies. Like I roll, right? It's just excruciatingly expensive. But part of the journey is just knowing that you have somebody you can rely on that's going to give you some really good feedback or things to try that more times than not will work. And if they don't, we just move on, right? We move on to the next thing.
Can we be honest for a second? If the words school stress make your eye twitch, same, because traditional school plus ADHD plus already fried nervous systems, phew, that's chaos we did not sign up for. That's why I love Me Academy. It's an online learning platform that lets kids learn at their own pace. No rushing, fewer power struggles, and way fewer homework meltdowns. Yes, please. As a mom, I love that it offers structure without rigidity and learning without wrecking our relationship with our kids. They can rewind lessons, pause when their brain taps out, and actually understand the material. If your 2026 goal is less chaos and more peace, this one actually delivers. Check out meacademy.co to learn more and start your trial for just $1.99. Me Academy isn't about perfect school. It's about school that works for real life. If you've ever watched your kiddo struggle to figure out why other kids won't share their Legos, or why sarcasm flies over their little head like a rogue Nerf dart, this next resource is going to make your jaw drop. Meet Michelle Garcia Winter. She's not just a speech and language pathologist with a master's degree. She's the CEO and founder of the Social Thinking Methodology, and a total game changer in how kids, and let's be real, parents too, learn the unspoken rules of social life. Michelle specializes in social cognition, basically the brain's people skills, and she's built tools, strategy, and resources that help our ADHD kiddos crack the code on friendships, conversations, and self-regulation without making them feel broken or less than. If your child struggles with reading the room, making friends, or handling the roller coaster of social life, Michelle's work is a lifeline. You can learn more at socialthinking.com, or you can click the link in the podcast description, because thriving socially isn't about faking normal, it's about understanding it. Do you find that in your practice? I feel like ADHD parenting is trial and error. I really do.
Yeah.
I hate that there is a standard that we should all be following, because really, like, nothing works for everybody. And I feel like we should do what works for us and feel good about it.
Mm-hmm.
So do you come across that, the trial and error part?
I think life is trial and error. I think for me to sit here even after 20 years and say, I got this. The truth is, why I love what I do so much is because it's never the same. That's what I can count on. It will never be the same with everybody, right? And that's what I love. However, because it's been so long, there's obstacles. I just at this point I'm like, I can overcome anything, but it doesn't mean that you view it like that at first, right? So the commonality is like there's always going to be trial and error. What might sound to me like your kid would like or it would work for, they might pull a swift one on me. And a lot of times it's because, for example, giving supplements. And I say, let's try this based on, how they do or how they feel about this, that, and the other. And we try it and they're like, no. Well, for me, it's like, okay, I just realized that is something that they have an aversion to that we didn't know about. So trial and error, but we also learned something. So again, I don't really view it from oh, wow, this is just going to be even more painful. For me, it's like, no, we're actually just going to learn faster and be able to overcome it quicker. Because the one thing the kids are always going to have on us is they're just smarter. Okay. They just are. And it's because their bodies know what they need and want. And we are having to figure that out a little bit. Right. And they can only give us the feedback that they give us, and they're kids. So what are you going to do? Yeah. But it's trial and error is a thing. I just like to say it's trial and error without the firing squad, right? Because I'm just saying, okay, look, this didn't work. That's okay. Let's do it this way. And you're not having to sit back and go, well, what now? And then that ends up being, you don't do anything because you're just like numb and frozen. And like, I can't. I like psychologically can't do anything else right now. I did everything I could do. I need to take a break. Right. Yeah. And so what that does is really just stalls improvement. And it doesn't mean that I don't understand that. I totally do. It's exhausting. My goal though, is that you don't run out of steam, because I'm always here to take that load for you and with you. So that it's not so I have to, you go into shutdown, because it's too much. It's just too much. I have a question that I should have asked you in the beginning. Was there a turning point in your life that shifted you from traditional medicine to functional medicine? Yes. I actually was just writing this, and we did some video on it that we're going to be posting. But I don't really talk about my own journey too much unless someone asks me, like you are, because I always want to spend that time focusing on you. But like I said, I was a spaz as a kid. I was very smart. I was very on it. But I didn't feel good. And both of my parents were truck drivers and busy and working full time. And as I got into like my tween years, I just didn't feel good. Knowing now what I know, it's funny. I had issues with food. Gluten just never sat well with me. And, we ate a lot of garbage, right? A lot of pizza pockets and Pop-Tarts and cereal and all the things a kid can quickly make in the kitchen is what I ate. And so then the headache started, and, I would tell my parents I don't feel good. And, my dad used to go, oh, you're such a hypochondriac, and eventually, of course, my parents took me to the doctor, of course. And, you're sitting there I'm a verbal, neurotypical kid that can talk for herself and likes to talk. And so sitting in the doctor's office, and going to these doctors and, well, she looks fine. Her weight's fine. How's she doing in school? Okay, great. Is she, asking all these very generic questions, and everything checks the okay box. So I'm okay.
Hmm.
And I wasn't okay. And the thing that really hit me the hardest was nobody was talking to me. I was in the room, but no one's addressing me. No one's talking to me about my body. It's my body. It's my feelings. And I remember getting better in my 20s, my early 20s. A chiropractor actually helped me quite a bit. And I knew I wanted to be a doctor. Now, in the 90s, in the early 90s, they told girls to be nurses and boys to be doctors. Yes, that was still happening. Maybe it still is. I don't know. But so I went into school, with a nursing major, and I decided, yeah, I have to be the boss. I can't have people telling me what to do all day. My personality is just not wired for that. And my goal was, I always wanted to do kids. I've been working with kids since I can remember, coaching dance, coaching cheer, Pop Warner, all the fun things. Love kids, love them. And so I knew I needed to be the doctor that I needed when I needed it, right? I needed to listen. I needed to figure things out that weren't obvious. And so out of school, I was working for a couple doctors, and a mom walked in, and I had overheard her saying, my kid recovered from autism. And I'm scratching my head like, what? Right? In my ignorant mind. And one of the docs that owned the clinic said, you should really look into this. And I'm like, I should. And, you and I, Danielle, we're nerdy. We like to learn. So I dove in hard. And I would say 18 months out of school, I just started seeing kids with developmental disorders, whether it diagnosed or not, a lot of behavior, of course, a lot of delays, we were told to wait, we were told to medicate, we were told there's nothing wrong. And I'm just really good at figuring out things with or without having every single thing in front of me. And so call it my intuitive gift, call it my experience, but I had to be the voice that the kids didn't have, right? And parenting, don't yell at your kid for having a meltdown at school. Let's talk about why that happened. There is a reason, I promise. They're not just bad kids, right?
Yeah.
And that was the fuel that sort of got me going. And I'm so thankful, because I think I've been able to save my own life many, many times. I had to step away from the practice in the fall of 2024. I went to the ER with just this unrelenting stomach pain. And I had my large intestine had twisted, and they had to go and emergency remove a third of my bowel. And the operation did not go well. And I ended up with a second, which then ended up almost 2 months in the hospital. And I had to close the practice. I mean, I had no choice. And so that was it's been a very painful 18 months of having to walk away, and the guilt of that, right? The guilt of walking away. And I just couldn't function. I couldn't walk, or anything. And so I told myself, like I told you, I didn't want to think negative. I thought, okay, what can I do now? What can I focus on? So I decided to go and do a course through Harvard Medical School for lifestyle and wellness coaching. And I finished a board exam I hadn't done, and I'm finishing a fellowship I hadn't done, because, a girl doesn't have time for these things. And I decided I'm going to build a program that if there's one thing I was missing in practice, it was that sense of community. And I'm going to build a program that brings that in, because my parents, and I can just speak from my experience, my mothers feel isolated. They feel lonely. They feel depressed. They feel like they have failed. And I wanted to, as much as I can tell you as a parent, you're not the only one going through this, that doesn't help you realize you're really not, right? I do this all day, every day. I promise you're not the only one. But, I have moms that don't leave the house because behavior's unpredictable. And we don't want to be at a restaurant and be embarrassed in front of 40 or 50 people. And so it changes who you are, the very fabric of who you are as a person, right? The individual that you have lost. And so I wanted to bring in just that community a little bit, right? And so I decided I would do a small group coaching program, and I'm maxing it at 5 families per cohort. And you're all going to have a positive support, because there's always negatives, right? When you look on Facebook and you have parents, it's very helpful to feel like you're not the only one. But the giving of advice, sometimes I go, oh, please don't do that. And I make my parents, and I make my parents sign in my paperwork, you're not allowed to talk about what you're doing for treatment in my clinic, right? Because I feel responsible for that. I can't sleep at night. Please, I love that you're happy. Please tell people you're happy, but don't give them the ins and outs, and don't water down the truth, right? Yeah. Don't get on and give me, give me a testimonial or talk about the practice and say, everything is so great. Like, no, you had to do work to get here. It didn't give you a magic Z-Pack, right? And ta-da, it was done. And so I always tell parents, be real with what's going on in your life, and the struggle's worth it, right? We got here, but you forget. And this is what I love about that journal we talked about in the beginning. My parents get amnesia. I love you for it, but you get amnesia and you forget where you came from. And so you start going, oh my gosh, today was such a bad day. And I'm like, was it really, Danielle? Was it really? Because I remember what it was like 4 months ago. And I think you just got used to this really good kid, and now you're giving him a hard time. So give him a break, right? And so sometimes it's just to go remind yourself, oh my gosh, we have gone so far, and I'm so proud of myself, and I'm so proud of my kid, right? But that is really what's different about what I'm going to do now versus what I was doing. Same philosophy, all the same things. I didn't just lay in a hospital bed almost dying to then wake up and go, oh, you know what? I'm just going to change my perspective on life. Like, no, it's all still the same. I just thought, what could I do different that would serve you better? And I think this, and I can't tell you how many nights I have been up trying to figure out the logistics in my mind, because I have to get it right in my head, and I'm a perfectionist. So how does this work where it really serves you? And more importantly, where we're still getting really great results, because at the end of the day, right? That's what we're here for. And so I'm just excited. I'm like so close to launching. I was up, till really late last night working on sort of I'm going to be filming sort of a little webinar that the parents that apply to the program that are interested will then watch to learn a little bit more about what we're doing and how it works, and, the ins and outs, all the details, because I'm completely wide open and candid about everything. I want parents to go in eyes wide open, because I believe that helps reduce your anxiety. And I want you to be excited, not like you're stepping forward, but you're like, should I? Right. I want you to be like, I'm jumping. I can't wait. Let's go. So I think that comes with just like super full disclosure.
I am very sorry that you had to have such a traumatic exit from your practice.
Yeah, it wasn't ideal, but I think ultimately, this is going to be better for me too, right? I mean, I'm still in physical therapy twice a week, and I still feel like someone's always poking me with a needle. But if I didn't have the medical background that I have, right, in traditional medicine, in functional medicine, I could not have made it out of that hospital. There's no way. But, advocating for yourself, teaching you as parents, educating you so you can then advocate for your kid is one of the best gifts I could ever give you, is having that sense of control and knowing and confident, like, no, I'm asking questions, and I'm I'm going to find out this and I'm going to find out that, because I think we're afraid, right? If I speak up, if I say something, or when you do, if you're that person that's more like me and a little more boisterous, what if you say it wrong and then you don't really get what you want out of it, right? So this is a journey for sure, and learning about yourself and your whole family, really healing, right? Learning to heal your family is so vital to this process.
I feel like I could end it right there, but I have one more question.
Go ahead. Yeah, ask away.
First, I want to let our listeners know we'll, of course, link your group coaching in the show notes so that people can connect further, but they'll probably have to get on a wait list because I'm sure it'll fill up fast. My last question is, having worked with our kiddos for so long, my kid is 10 now, so he is not a little bitty anymore. I would like to know if you have any advice on how to get them to advocate for themselves at an older age.
Oh, Danielle, you have such good questions.
Thank you.
Such good questions. I think a child needs to understand what's going on with their brain. I have had to coach parents on how to tell their kid that they have autism, how to tell their kid they have ADD or ADHD. Do I hate the label? Sure. But are they going to hear the label? Yes. So why make it taboo, right? Why? They are smart. They are aware. It's why they behave the way they do. It's that system just getting so worked up, right? So I think it's first and foremost, depending on where they are developmentally, 10 very much can handle a conversation, and really sit down and figure out, how do I want to explain how their brain works to them? There's tons of videos, there's tons of books. But if you have a kid like yours that's sporty spice, right, and they're into sports and they're great at that, then find a way to use what interests them in the analogy of what's going on with them, right? So you have an athlete and they eat this, they eat that, they do this, and they go to the Olympics, right? I mean, you can, obviously veer off from what I'm saying, but now what's the difference between, you on your team and little Tim on this team, because they're 10, they know, right? They're comparing. They might be saying, that guy doesn't do that right. What is he doing? He needs to do this, right? A lot of the kids in my practice are just bossy. And I say, bring it on, right? Let's talk about why you feel this way, or let's talk about why your brain works this way. Mm-hmm. And I like to tell kids that, again, depending on the age, but 10 is, you can give just about any analogy, but like if we were in the car, right, and we're in traffic and there's tons of cars around and we're trying to get to your game and we're going to be late and we can't move, right? That is so frustrating. That is what your brain is going through. There's a lot of cars in there and they're all trying to get somewhere, and it's so frustrating. So you don't know, your brain doesn't know what to do, where to look, where to go, what to do, who to call, right? Should I get off? Should I stay here? Should I look and see if there's an accident? All these things. And so in those times, we kind of have to stop and we have to think, okay, how do we feel right now? And so at 10, he may or may not be in touch with the names of emotions. And so this is a good time to say, okay, let's talk about what that is, right? What is that feeling? Sometimes I tell parents, think of a word, that when they're feeling that feeling, they say it. It could be peanut butter. And you too know, you're in public. He doesn't have to have, I need a break. I need to go outside. I need to go to the car. He just says peanut butter. And okay, let's wrap this up. Let's go outside. And he learns to know it's coming and knows what to do about it. Now, I think every kid has a different personality. Some are more competitive, some are more passive. Some are kind of follow the leader. Others are, I'm leading the pack, right? And so you have to play into those strengths when you're explaining what's going on with their body in a way that they understand it. And that, again, that's usually their favorite thing. Be it for you, it would be a sport, or maybe it's, a certain type of anime or Minecraft, or you can take anything and explain that when you're busy, when your brain is busy, it has a hard time. So you try different things, right? I think a lot of people have tried fidget toys. I think a lot of people have tried. I had a kid who would blurt out in class. I mean, he could not control it. And sadly, Danielle, he was right. He was actually correcting the teacher. And so I had to tell him, look. And like I said, I talk to the kids like, A, they're my own, but B, like they're just little adults. And I said, look, I get it. You're right. But here's the thing. Adults don't like when a 10-year-old calls them out, right? It's embarrassing and it's humiliating. Mm-hmm. And it's not kind for you to do that. And let's talk about you being right versus you being kind. Yes. You are allowed to be correct. You are not allowed to be unkind. And he's getting worked up. And I said, look, what I want you to do is I want you to pull out a notebook. And we kept this little notebook, maybe the size of his palm. You write down what should have been done. Okay. You write it down. You do not raise your hand. You do not blurt it out because you're being mean. Okay. It's not nice. You write it down. And then if you feel so inclined at the end of the day, it's still bothering you, then you give her the piece of paper. Okay. This does a couple things. It keeps him from blurting out, but also feeling in control, still feeling like he can communicate what happened. And if at the end of the day, he's still bothered by it, he can give her his notes on her teaching style. Okay. but I mean, honestly, right. But in private. Yeah. And so it's finding little ways to tell them it's okay to be who you are. It is not okay to be mean. It is not okay to be unkind. It is not okay to be disruptive, right? Or violent. But you have to give them a tool, guys. You can't just say, okay, it's not nice. They're going to be like, yeah, well, whatever. Right. Yeah. There has to be an outlet. Some of my kids, we had meetings with the teacher. Like, look, they have to get up and they have to walk and pace in the back of the classroom. And, no, they have to sit there. Well, no, they don't. They actually don't. Okay. You're giving them 10 minutes for recess and like 7 minutes to eat. So just let them walk in the back. If they'll walk and pace in the back and not disrupt you and not make a scene, then who cares? They're in the back. The other kids are not, you can explain it to the other kids. When they're little, much younger than your son, I always describe it as like ants in the pants, right? Yeah. I know that you feel like you have ants in your pants and you have to get up. And so we have to find a way to work with that, right? And so some of you have to have those ARD meetings where you say, look, here's what we need. You can get an advocate. You can ask for an advocate. They can get you in there. They know the rules. You don't know the rules. And you find those ways. They can play with a toy. They can put on their headphones, right? If they need to cancel out, someone like maybe they're sitting next to a girl like me who doesn't shut up and they can't focus and they're just losing their mind, then they have the right to put on their headphones and cancel it out. That means the teacher too, right? And the teachers I think it's an ego problem. Look, we're talking about behavior. We're not talking about being stupid. Okay. They're not the same thing. Yeah. So I feel like they need to understand your brain works different, but also let's figure out what you need because they shouldn't have to feel like that all day. Could you imagine? So the kids that are really great at school and not great at home, well, that's because they're really keeping it together all day long. And when they get home, they got to unleash it and you have to let them, right? Yeah. I mean, the poor things. So if you really have some empathy and I try, I mean, my moms don't have a problem with it. My dads are like, no, I just beat them. Like, okay, I get it too. I got my butt kicked when I was a kid. I get it. I grew up in that generation.
Yeah, same.
but the truth is, I mean, it doesn't do anything. I mean, you wish it did. It makes you feel better. And so I think it's finding things at home. Like you're like, I can deal with it at home. Then let's figure out what those things are at home that help him that we can move into the school. Because accommodations can always be made. But unfortunately, we have to come up with a way to make those work. The teachers are not going to always make it easy. And that's okay. So use the rules on your side. Use those ARD meetings in your 501(c)(3)s and, use them. That's what they're there for. But I feel like empowering the kids to learn about their body and how it works, come up with a code word, come up with a way to explain it that makes sense. I think for you, probably sports related, and let them understand when I have that feeling, oh, that's the traffic you talked about, Mom. Yeah, all the cars are really busy right now. Okay, well, let's do something about it. What do you want to try? Right? Do you want to try? I love the little trampolines, the ones that you can buy now that we used to have in the 80s, the little baby ones you put in your closet. Yeah. Love those. Let's get on the trampoline. Let's do this. Let's do something, right? Even for my kids at STEM, I tell parents, let them go crazy at home, right? Let them go crazy at home because they've been told all day, don't do that behavior. Don't do this behavior. Don't do this behavior. And it's a way they're coping. So don't shut it off when they need it. We can redirect it to something more appropriate with therapy, okay? But do not stop them from doing these things that help them regulate their nervous system. And I know it sucks to say it, but we can't strip away that outlet. We don't like the outlet, most likely. Totally get that. And I feel like that's something that occupational therapy can help us work through. Yeah. But they are not stupid. And the more you explain what's going on with them, the relief that maybe you feel as we're sitting here today talking is the relief that they feel. It's just different for a 10-year-old. I mean, they feel the pressure too. They might not express that to you, but they do. Yeah. They know right from wrong. They know by that look in our eyes. I call them my mom eyes. They know by that look in my eye, like, no, sir. I don't think so. Right. Yes. So I want you to talk to them and not be afraid. Don't be afraid. There's nothing to be afraid of. The more they know, the more they understand about themselves, the more open they are to exploring and trial and erroring, if you will, right? These things that we need to do to help them, because your mom, they know you're not going to do anything bad, right? So you're their safe space. So be that safe space.
I've needed all of these reminders today. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Dr. Brooks, so welcome. I would selfishly take up all of your time, but I know that you are very busy creating your new coaching community. Would you like to tell our listeners how they could connect with you further?
Yeah, for sure. I'll leave a link. So the new practice name is Healing Roots Pediatrics. And you can go to that, healingrootspediatrics.com. And we have a little bit of a landing page right now of just a little bit about the program. And if you're interested, you can fill out an application, which I'm only doing because I want to make sure that we're the right fit, right? And if we're not, I'll tell you what I think you should do or whatever. I just don't, like I said, I'm a straight shooter, so I don't like to waste anyone's time. And then from there, we'll get you, I'm going to just do groups of 5. I'll probably do 2 groups. I want to do 2 groups starting out. And I would love the parents. I'd love to offer a discount to you. In turn, I guess I do want something. I want you to give me feedback on things during the program because I want to, again, I'm an overachiever. So I want to make sure we're constantly improving things or giving you resources that you need. And if you need them, other parents need them. So you can also follow us at Healing Roots Kids on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. And we're doing a lot of videos and a lot of explaining about the kind of the whys and the things specific to the program and things like that. So that's kind of how you can connect with me. Yeah.
And of course, I'll again link that in the show notes so that people can find you. This has been amazing, Dr. Brooks. Thank you so much for your time today.
You're so welcome. Thank you guys. And I wish you all the best.
Okay. If there's one thing I hope you take away from today's conversation, it's this. You are not behind. You are not failing. And your child is not broken. What Dr. Brooks reminds us so powerfully is that ADHD isn't a behavior problem to be managed harder. It's a brain and nervous system asking for support. And there are multiple ways to answer that call. A natural or integrative path doesn't mean doing everything perfectly or avoiding help out of fear. It means slowing down, getting curious, and choosing support that actually fits your child and your family. And just as important, it means knowing that if or when you need to bring in additional tools, that doesn't mean you gave up. It means you're paying attention. As we move into this new year, less chaos season, my hope is that this episode gives you permission to stop chasing quick fixes and start building understanding. One step, one decision, one calmer moment at a time. You can learn more about Dr. Brooks and all of her work in our show notes. And if this episode made you feel seen, grounded, or a little less alone, please do all the things for the algorithm gods. Like, subscribe, leave us a review, 5 stars obviously. Definitely leave me a comment and let me know what made you happy or pissed you off today. But so much more importantly, I need you to share it with another parent who's drowning quietly. You don't have to do this perfectly. You just have to keep showing up. That's it for this week on Chaos and Caffeine. I'm Danielle, and I'll see you next time. Emotional support latte in hand. If 2025 felt like one long game of whose executive function died today, welcome to the club. But 2026, we are not doing another year of white-knuckling it through school mornings, emotional avalanches, and the mystery of why a simple worksheet can turn into a full-blown family crisis. This is the year we get help from people who actually get ADHD. And that's exactly where Hallowell Todaro comes in. Their team doesn't just treat symptoms. They understand the full picture, the wiring, the emotions, the chaos, the strengths, all of it. Their approach is compassionate, science-backed, empowering, and honestly, a breath of oxygen for burned out parents who are tired of feeling like they're failing. From diagnostic clarity to individualized treatment plans, coaching, therapy, and support that actually works in real life, not just on paper, Hallowell Todaro gives families the tools to regulate, connect, and finally feel hope again. So, here's to New Year, less chaos, and partnering with experts who make ADHD feel less like a daily disaster and more like a journey we can navigate with confidence.